Good morning. I'm George Thomas, the Akron Beacon Journal. If you're still up and watching this, you're insane. But thanks for anyhow. We're coming to you after another Browns win, another bounce back win. They beat the New York Giants 20-6 in a game that the best way to describe it, and you're not used to describing Browns games this way in the last 20 or so years, was pedestrian. It was boring. It wasn't dramatic. And that was a good thing tonight.
Yeah, it was a very good thing tonight because they had to take care of business, and they did take care of business. And that's been the MO of this team under Kevin Stefanski. It's really remarkable how he's been able to get these guys to lock in and focus. You know, the other teams that were on their heels in this AFC wildcard race, they won today. The Dolphins won today. The Ravens won today, and the Colts won today. And the Colts actually technically moved into the fifth seed in the AFC because the Browns hadn't played yet. With the win, the Browns remain in that fifth seed. They remain positioned to claim the first of the three wildcard spots. A loss would have gotten a lot more messy and tricky, but they took care of it. Myles Garrett was asked about, scoreboard watching earlier in the day, and he said he took a nap. He was at the team hotel. He played golf with his dad on his phone. He wasn't worried about what else was going on. He was worried about the game tonight. And to me, that's just emblematic of the laser focus that Kevin Stefanski has instilled in these guys.
Yeah, when you think that if they'd have lost, they were going to be eighth in a 7-team race. Granted, it's still looking pretty good, but that could have. I just thought the implications were much bigger than maybe anything they faced in the expansion era. I don't know, just because of how talented this team is and how they've been playing.
Hey, George, I don't know what exactly you were seeing. I guess I know. I guess in a way it was a dull game, but to me it was just a fascinating game from a couple of different points of view. Number one, the whole dynamic of if you lose, and we're conditioned to thinking that the Browns can certainly lose a game like this. They've lost this game and many lesser games numerous times. So there's that tension of knowing they could lose. But I kind of liked watching McCoy. I thought that was exciting in its way, especially when he took New York to an early lead. And it could have been a 7-0 lead just as easily. But I thought that was exciting. And I thought different guys got mixed in. And in tandem with Mayfield taking another either giant step or significant step on a few different levels, it became a really good team game. And I'll use two examples. I thought two of the plays that were as big as any in the first half were Sheldon Richardson's stop on fourth down when the game was really on the line. And David Njoku hasn't caught every ball in sight, has he, guys, over the years? And Mayfield just whistled one to him, and it had to be a catch. The ball was there. It was another great pass by Mayfield, who's throwing great pass after great pass. But in this case, and Njoku, instead of one of those groaner drops, makes a nice catch. So those two plays to me, and the Njoku catch preceded a touchdown. But those two plays just, to me, Nate, you're using the word emblematic. I'm probably going to dream of the word emblematic tonight because you use it in press conferences too. But it's emblematic of the team ball that the teams that are able to win playoff games play.
When I say boring, to answer your question, I mean we're used to seeing from sitting in that press box, and I think I've been up there 5 or 6 years with you guys, sitting in that press box and thinking, what can happen next? How can they screw this up? That's what I mean by boring. Because that thought, even when the Giants drove down on that opening drive and Freddie became Freddie, I didn't think that way after the field goal. I'm like, okay, that's what they have at this point. There was no waiting for something to go wrong. It's basically TCB, take care of business, period. Let's get this win. Let's get the hell out of here. And that's what it was. That's what I mean by boring.
Well, there was a couple, I would say there was a couple of chances for them to blow it, like when they had 2 offensive line penalties in the red zone there, and they still scored on that 95-yard drive and overcame those. I mean, those are the kind of self-inflicted wounds that have been fatal with this team before, and this time they overcame those.
Well, I will say that if you compare it to Monday night's instant classic, 47-42 loss to the Ravens, this one was boring in comparison. What should be exciting to Browns fans is you didn't see a team emotionally drained after that. You saw a team that was mad about coming out on the short end of that and really backed up its words that there were no moral victories in that game.
George, you mentioned Freddie, and guys, to me, one of the fun things of the game is, and respect your point about what you're defining as boring, George, but I saw it as a fun game. One of the fun things to me was the Freddie dynamic. He called some pretty nice plays, so they had a good plan on a couple of those series, and then finally you get down there and say, what the heck are they doing? I guess it was Joe Judge's call that they went for it on 4th down on that first series. You say, what the heck are they doing? But actually, in defense of our pal Freddie, Kevin Stefanski, and we were all in on that Zoom call with Coach Stefanski, but Kevin Stefanski pretty much agreed with Freddie's and Joe Judge's decision there, because he said this is one of those games where it was going to be tight to the extent and tense to the extent, and the offenses were such that you were going to have to get 7s. That was Kevin who said that, not Baker, right, guys? But I think Stefanski said that and tacitly was agreeing with Freddie that, the 3 there is nice. Yeah, you want to get the 3, but that ain't going to get you anywhere in a game like this. You had to roll 7s when you had a chance. So that was part of the fascination of the game for me.
Yeah, and Judge said after the game that field goals are not going to win it for the Giants. And obviously, that's the head coach's decision down there. I know it's on Twitter to blast Freddie for the punter throwing a pass. Obviously, Joe Judge makes those decisions.
Wasn't a great pass.
No, it was thrown over the middle in traffic to the center.
Yeah.
By the same token, Baker Mayfield continues his hot streak to the point where, hey, they didn't have to rely on their punter to throw a pass this evening. Baker is straight up focused. Baker, I didn't watch a lot of Oklahoma football, and simply because of where I spent my college years and him planting a certain flag on some field. But any worries anybody had about him should be gone at this point. He completed more than 84% of his passes tonight. I think that set a team record.
The Browns have corrected that. ESPN Stats and Info had it as a team record, but the Browns have it as the 3rd highest single-game completion percentage in history. But very impressive. And, yeah, you're right. I mean, think about what he's done in December now. He went back-to-back over 300 yards, and then tonight nearly 300 yards, 297, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 126.2 rating. This guy's been on fire, and it's been during the most meaningful stretch of the season. It really is remarkable. He said a few weeks ago, we've got to seize the moment in these December games. It's almost like he talked himself into raising his level of play. He's gone out and done just that.
And think about it. He's done this. He's done this in one season under Kevin Stefanski. There's a question I want to ask Stefanski when the season's over with. And I guess I should put it to you guys now. Where is this team, hypothetically speaking, if he got the job last year? Has that crossed anyone's mind?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if they'd be challenging for the playoffs last year. They still had some, and they still have some issues now, but I'm most impressed with the growth from Baker and, receivers like Donovan Peoples-Jones and, the way that some of these, Harrison Bryants of the world are coming in through. And I don't know. You think they would have been in the playoffs last year if they'd hired Stefanski?
I think they would have been. I think it's conceivable that they're more of a threat this year.
Looking at the now and what Mayfield is becoming and what the demeanor of this team is becoming, and of course it flows off of having Stefanski just this once year. I really love their body language in certain moments. Two that come to mind are Mayfield scrambled for that key first down in the second half, and it was almost like you could see him shimmy, just give one third of a shimmy, but then he stopped himself and he just ran back to the huddle. It was like, hey, that's what I'm supposed to do, get a first down. Later on, I saw Hollywood Higgins sitting on the bench toward the end of the game, just with this peaceful smile on his face. It wasn't like, I can't believe where we are. It was like just really enjoying being in that moment. And then Mayfield came along, and it was like they didn't get crazy about their celebration, but you could tell they were having a moment together, and we're just really happy in a good sort of way, a poised sort of way about what's going on right now.
They are poised. I think that they're, we talk about the big picture of the game, and you'd said earlier, I think it was Steve, you said earlier that we've seen the Browns lose these kind of gotta-have games. There was one sequence in this game where the Browns are down by the goal line, and they have a penalty, as a clipping penalty on Jack Conklin. And it negated a 6-yard touchdown run by Nick Chubb. A couple snaps later, Jedrick Wills, the other tackle, has a false start. And how many times would we have seen in the past the Browns have to settle for a field goal there or whatever? Those penalties come back to haunt them. But with Mayfield and Chubb, they were able to finish it, punch it in the end zone. And I think that that's just kind of a remarkable step that we've seen them overcome obstacles like that, even if they're obstacles created by themselves under Stefanski. So, yeah, I think they would be more of a threat to make noise in the playoffs this year if this was year 2 under Stefanski. But we are here now. Maybe Stefanski's better off now than he would have been otherwise, because he did get the full season as a play caller in Minnesota that he wouldn't have had otherwise. It's a chicken and egg thing. But the bottom line is Stefanski's got to be right there for NFL Coach of the Year. I talked to Rodney Harrison in the build-up to this game, the great safety, 2-time Super Bowl champ. He said hands down Stefanski should be Coach of the Year.
Guys, one of my thoughts on the playoff thing is that it's almost like we're not allowed to say that the Browns can be more than a team that makes the playoffs. No, it's just like almost an unspoken thought that, yeah, they can make it, but they can't do anything this year. Tonight's game, and maybe tying that back to the Tennessee game and having the 31-point lead at halftime, and even going to last Monday's game against Baltimore, and what I'm seeing lately tells me that if I'm almost any other team, there are teams I'd rather play than Cleveland in the first round, and I'm not going to be surprised if the Browns, especially if they don't have to play the Chiefs. Well, they won't. KC is going to be the number 1 seed and get a bye, but I don't see a team that the Browns can't beat in the playoffs. We're going to find out, aren't we? If they still have this phobia and this jinx mentality against the Berg, then maybe we're going to be having a different discussion in a couple of weeks. But I don't think we're going to have that discussion. I think they've advanced so far that they're at least going to play a nice game against Pittsburgh, a competitive game.
I mean, I agree with Baker playing the way he is playing, that they can win a playoff game. That is a raised expectation, from my perspective. But you said a key word there, Steve, Chiefs. And, they're not going to have, like you said, they're not going to have to play the Chiefs right off the bat. But, I'm not counting on anybody beating the Chiefs, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns work themselves in a situation to actually face them. And, boy, that would be fun.
Well, I mean, you just have to think that they are getting better they're peaking at the right time. And, who knows how much better they can be. Jarvis continues to stay. They say they still haven't played their best game. So,
But I'm gonna go back to the same old thing. Now, mind you, with Denzel Ward back this evening, I felt a little bit better about the defense, and I think that showed up. I really do. But you get to the playoffs, it's running game defense for the most part. And Patrick Mahomes would still have a field day with that secondary. Ben Roethlisberger might if they saw them. Lamar Jackson has shown what he could do if they squeak into the playoffs. It's going to depend who's there. And do you really think Tennessee is gonna be able to or allow the Browns to do what they did against them a few weeks ago? And you don't think that's etched in the back of Derrick Henry's head? I mean, it's going to take. I think they can win a game, but getting beyond the first round is going to be a Herculean task. Getting past the second round is going to be a huge task, in my opinion.
George, it doesn't sound like you believe yet. Now, of course, we're not Brownies fans here on the cast. We're
Steve, I'm a pragmatist.
But George, I see the Browns in a different light. Of course, if they play Kansas City, they would have to win a shootout game. But weren't they in a shootout game that they came very close to winning against Baltimore? Wasn't a 31-point lead against Tennessee? And who cares about what Tennessee is going to allow you to do? They allowed the Browns to lead by 31 points at halftime. That was real. That's what I saw. I don't know what I'm going to see. That might not happen again. But I just see Cleveland as becoming a capable team, George.
I'm going to go back in the Wayback Machine after that first game last year. And the Titans said point blank, they are who we thought they were. Mm-hmm. I remember that quote specifically. I'm willing to bet the Titans thought they were the same team, and they got a surprise. There was a surprise factor there, I think. So, like I said, I'm a pragmatist.
No, if I'm Cleveland, I'm not worried about what Tennessee might do to me. I mean, my mindset would be, and I'll bet you this, I'd bet a lot of money that Stefanski probably does have this in his mind that, the next game isn't going to be that if they play Tennessee again. But they're confident that they can compete with Tennessee, or maybe they're not realistically confident they can compete with anybody, i.e. Kansas City. But I think their mindset really is formulating nicely right now.
Fair enough. Like I said, I'm a pragmatist.
How about us going through how well the Browns are going to do in the playoffs? What's a change? Right?
Well, how many times have you ridden that self-inflicted wounds lead, in the past few years,
Well, that's what I mean. The self-inflicted wounds were there for the taking tonight.
Right.
Came them, and it's just been over and over again this season. Stefanski,
right.
Mayfield, obviously, I mean, huge credit goes to those guys and Nick Chubb and other guys too. Myles Garrett isn't himself. He said he had a coughing fit in the locker room after the game. But, Denzel Ward made a big difference tonight, and they held him out of the end zone. This is not a high-powered offense that they faced in the Giants. But, they defensively got a little back on track after giving up, a lot of points in the previous game. So, I mean, business next week against the Jets, and they're going to be exactly where they want to be.
Look, you asked a question I'm going to answer. The last time I went through how the Browns are going to match up in the playoffs was, I think, Bud Carson was the coach. There you go.
They need to get one of their guards back, preferably a Teller. But I guess I'll backtrack a little bit on a confidence that they're going to be a good playoff team. I think the reason they didn't put up a big score tonight is because they
didn't have to.
It was cognizant that they were going to have to call the game differently with the guard situation being what it was. They're going to need to get back to full strength. I think if they're at full strength on the offensive line, I'm not going to be surprised if they beat anybody.
And I will say too, Myles Garrett's health is something we got to watch every single week because he is their best player. And if he can return to full strength, then you're looking at a different Myles Garrett than the one you're seeing right now.
One last thing. The Browns only rushed for 106 yards tonight. They won via the passing game, which was a concern when they were racking up all those yards on the ground in the first 3 quarters of the season. Is there any doubt that they can win passing the ball now in anyone's estimation?
No, they mixed the tight ends tonight, and even they needed to do that at some point. They did it tonight. I don't have any doubts. Mayfield's throwing lasers right now to the X in the middle of the target.
Yeah, credit to Stefanski and Baker. I'll say it again.
They're getting better every week, both of them.
All right, I'm going to bed.
Lucky you.
Me neither.
So we're gonna get out of here. I'm on vacation. So I'm going to bed.
How's that working for you?
Same way it always worked when it's not a furlough.
Yeah.
Boom. So to everybody on Facebook, all 3 of you right now who stuck through the very end, thanks. We had a nice group at one point, but I think they all went to bed too. So we'll see you next week. I'll still be on vacation, but here with these guys to talk about the Jets. Later.
Bye.
Bye.